Hi everyone, I'm Brianna and welcome to our initiative. Today I'm going to be showing completely new Dungeon Masters the ropes. So, let's get started. In this video, I'm going to be focusing more on the DM's role and what you actually have to do to run the game, and less on the rules, though I will be linking D&D Beyond in the description, which gives you access to the basic rule set. Judging by the name Dungeon Master, you might be thinking that that means you are in charge. But honestly, I think a Dungeon Master is more of a guide. You are your player's guide through the world. You're not the boss of them. If anything, you're the rules master. And even then, you don't have to be a rules master to play the game. You do need an understanding of the rules, but that will come with time and with practice. And being the DM doesn't take away your right to make mistakes, and you can accept help from your players. Maybe one of your players knows the rules, and you can ask them what the ruling for something is and decide if that's how you're going to run it. In the end, how you run your game is up to you. Being a guide means that you need to try and guide your players through the story. You don't want to try and force them through the story or railroad them. You're here to guide them and help them through the story. How they complete this story is up to them. But being the guide also means that since this world is in our imaginations, that what they see is gonna rely on what you tell them. If you don't tell them something, then it doesn't exist. You are your players' eyes and ears in the world. You need to tell them what is around. You need to tell them if there are guards so that they know how to proceed. They need to know how rough the river's waters are so that they know if swimming across is even an option. And if you forgot to mention something and your players make an incorrect assumption that could derail the story, then apologize, correct them, and say that you made a mistake. That was your bad. Because your players are going to trust you so much more if they know that you are going to admit to your own mistakes instead of calling them unobservant. You've probably seen dungeon masters with hordes of dice, lots of minis and terrains, and stacks of books. And if you're put off from being a DM thinking that you need all of this, you don't. You need very, very little to run the game. All you really need is a set of dice, and you can even get digital dice rollers on your phone if you don't want to buy a set. Then obviously you need the rules, and you can get them online. You don't have to buy one of the rule books. Of course, you won't have access to all the rules, but you'll have access to all of the beginner rules, and it's all you need to run a campaign. And the last thing that you need to run your campaign is the campaign, the story. And you can just make up a story, though I wouldn't suggest that for your first time DMing. And there are plenty of pre written modules that you can get to play, and they will include everything that you need to run that game. And there's even sets specifically for beginners, such as Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. Starter sets are shorter campaigns that are easier to run and has everything included for beginners learning to play. And no, this video is not sponsored. My channel is nowhere near big enough for that. This is just the first game that I ran, and I thought it was a really good entry for beginners, so I thought I'd suggest it to you guys. The main job of a dungeon master is to help your players to see the world and to guide them through the story. But you're also the referee of the rules. So when no one's sure how a rule should be interpreted or how it works, especially in a certain situation, then it's the DM's job to make a ruling how it's going to work. And you can even just make up something and that's how it's going to work. And then look it up after the session so you don't interrupt gameplay looking for rules. And then afterwards, maybe at the beginning of next session or online between sessions, then you can tell everyone that this is how it's supposed to be and this is how it's going to be from now on. The main thing to remember here is that even though you're the master of the rules, you're new at it and no one expects you to be perfect. And you don't always have to make the right ruling right away. You can change it and correct yourself. Though as a dungeon master, you should try to be decisive with your rulings, so not changing them all the time and not having different rulings for different players. You should come up with what works, say this is what we are sticking with, and stick with it. If it's not working, then you can say that you made a mistake, we're changing it. Just try not to do this too often and with everything. Another thing to keep in mind is that you should be the one calling for roles. When a player wants to do something, they should be telling you what they want to do instead of asking if they can make a certain type of check. Because if they describe what they want to do, then you can decide what check that should be and tell them what they can roll. You should also be careful with what you ask your players to roll for. If it's a common everyday task that most normal people should be able to do, like walking up some stairs, then there's not really a reason to roll the dice because it's something that they should be able to do very, very easily. So before telling your players to make a roll, think about three things. One, can a normal human being do it? If they can, then you probably shouldn't roll. Two, what happens if they fail? If it's just going to be something small, annoying, or it's going to stop the story from continuing, then you probably shouldn't roll. And three, if it's a less common skill that not everyone can do, using woodworking as an example, but they have been practicing it for quite a long time and have made some good rolls to learn it, then I probably wouldn't get them to roll because if you've practiced something a lot, then it's not really difficult for you to do it anymore. So I'd say if they've practiced it enough, then they probably don't have to roll to do it. But here we are, we made it to the end of the video, and I'm really grateful for you watching all the way through, and I really hope the video was helpful. And just like you're learning to be a new DM, I'm still learning to be a YouTuber, so I'd be really grateful if you'd like to help me out and like the video or maybe even subscribe to my channel. It'll really help me on my journey to becoming a larger YouTuber, and I'd be really grateful. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.